Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology debunking mythology. Sattology means science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science of study of fake, lie, or imagination. So Sattology builds your identity, whereas mythology actually destroys your identity. So one of the things which comes into the mind is that when you lose touch of your ancient history, you lose your identity. If I give you a record of many countries in the world, the countries which are progressing the most are the countries with the native cultures and populations. Give an example is Japan. Japan has a native population, is growing. China has a native population, it is growing. And India has a native population, the Hindu culture, which is also growing. But look at the South American countries, look at the countries which are enslaved and still enslaved by the language, by the food, and by their method of worship. These are all South American countries. Most of the Middle Eastern countries are also like that. They're colonized by the language, the food, and the method of worship. All those countries are poor because they lost touch of native civilizations, native culture. I have a very special guest today who has written The Game Behind Saffron Terror. And it's a very, I mean, I have not read the book, I'll be very honest, but I've been given excerpts from the book. And it just shows the mindset. And this gentleman has interviewed many of these suspects and came up with a book, which is The Game of Saffron Terror. You can check it out. It's available on Amazon and also it's available on American stores in Barnes and Nobles. So let us welcome Colonel Kanwar Khatana. Welcome, Colonel sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Your voice is very low. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You have to speak a little louder. So in this game, in this book, what is the thing that you highlight mostly in this book, The Game of Saffron Terror? What is the things that you highlight?
You see, the title of the book is The Game Behind Saffron Terror. It tells the story, basically a political story of how in UPA 1 and UPA 2 regime that is starting or up to 2014 for 10 years in greed to pursue the polity of vote bank, Congress, the then ruling party, tried to create a narrative, a false narrative in the country that it is not only the Islam terrorism which is prevailing in the country, but there is also a Hindu terrorism which is prevailing in India, which I have researched. It took me 2 years to do a lot of research for the book. I met number of people. I am very well versed with terrorism because I have dealt with it in India and outside also. The basically the ruling party, the Congress, wanted to create a dedicated vote bank of Muslims, which are almost 18% in this country, to ensure that their votes do not go away from Congress. So that was the philosophy behind this creation of false narrative of Hindu terrorism in the country. Now, what happened? There have been number of terror attacks in the country, including 26/11 Mumbai attack, which in scope was as big as 9/11 attack in US in the Twin Towers. I also have brought out in the book how Pakistan ISI planned and executed this terror attack of 26/11 in the country through LET, Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is one of the terror groups, which is based in Pakistan. In fact, not only LET, there are a number of other terror groups which are based in Pakistan and they operate from there. with the blessings and help of the state, particularly the SI. So this book tells you the story how people like a serving army officer, Colonel Prohit, number of other people like Sadhvi Pragya, Asimanand, and host of others became casualty of this false narrative. And they languished in jail for 9, 10 years before there was a change of regime. So this is in nutshell, this is what the book tells. Pakistan, not only 26/11, but we have had attack on parliament. We have had number of attacks in various parts of the country. In every attack, these were the terror groups which operate from Pakistan who executed that attack, and it was primarily the inter-services intelligence, or the ISI as it is known, of Pakistan which was involved. The ISI has big operations, terror operations, it finances terror operations, and they actively uh, take part, sometime by proxy, sometime directly, in execution of these terror operations. So this is what the book is all about.
So in like for an international audience, Pakistan is a very weak country, very poor country, and and generally the question is that what are Indian intelligence agencies doing? You know, we keep blaming Pakistan, but we don't take any proactive steps. Like for example, Russia took a decisive step against Ukraine, and they make sure that Ukraine understands in a language that they need to be told. But India has not done that. What is the weakness there? Because if you say ISI all the time, what is Indian intelligence agency RAW doing?
You see, Pakistan is a nuclear state, and so is India. You see, you cannot really uh, conduct war with another nuclear state. And it's not only nuclear state, but it is largely by proxy ruled by army. There is always apprehension that war may escalate and may terminate into nuclear war, which is avoidable. You see, every government, like India is a democracy, number one. Two, you see, it is very difficult to conduct war just because terror operations are happening here. As regards Indian intelligence organizations are concerned, I have been part of it for quite some time. You see, intelligence agencies know whereabouts of all the terrorists. I know it because I have been part of it. But as a government policy, we do not indulge in assassinations of people outside uh, the country or even inside for that matter. We want them bring to the fold of justice anywhere. So as policy, although the agencies have the capability and the wherewithal to go and eliminate them like the CIA has been doing it for quite some time, and US has been doing it. In fact, recently, a few months ago only, had killed uh, Al Qaeda boss. We don't do it. We don't do it as a policy. We have given those year to UN. We have given those year to Pakistan. We have done everything we could do, but somehow the Pakistan has failed to understand the gravity of terrorism, which is now biting it. If you see what is happening, what the TTP, Tehreek uh, Taliban Pakistan doing to the security forces of Pakistan, they have killed number of security personnel. Terrorism is one thing, it will always get back to you. Or for that matter, not only terrorism, the violence. You see, violence has a chakra, it always gets back to you. You see anywhere in the history, it always it always takes on the perpetrator at the end. This is what happened in Iraq. This is what happened in Pakistan, and anywhere in the world. It will always eliminate the perpetrator because this is the nature of violence. It's the nature of terrorism. But the government of India did take some actions after Pulwama attack happened. We went inside Pakistan. We eliminated number of terror camps. We killed hundreds of terrorists who were undergoing training there. But the moot point is, you kill 100, there are another 500 people ready to come inside. Why? Two reasons. Firstly, it is the lure of money because there is utter poverty in Pakistan. And second is the religious fundamentalism, where a children from a tender age are taught that their sole job is to do jihad, to who do not have and the kind of propaganda which is being spread all around Pakistan and other parts of the world also, that Kashmir, there is a jihad in Kashmir. All those people who have visited, they go back very satisfied. The people who have not seen Kashmir, who have not visited Kashmir, they think there is some kind of harm which is being caused to Muslims who are residing in Kashmir. On the contrary, I do not think many people in the world know that there was a vast Hindu population migration from Kashmir at the end of 90 and beginning of 91. And they are still living in other part of the countries because they were killed there. There was jihad against them. You see, all these small details are not known to the world audience. So this game of terrorism will go on because it has become a kind of an industry in Pakistan. If you see on the like Lashkar-e-Taiba has offices all over the big streets in Pakistan, and they collect money, that crowdfunding for jihad in Kashmir. And in the name of Kashmir, then they go out to the other parts of the country. And what you do not know, I do not know, many people know when 26/11 happened. There were 10 jihadis. I have given details in my book. There were 10 jihadis who came. All of them were trained by ISI. All of them, in fact, were given Hindu names. They were given identity cards and addresses, fake addresses, and all had that, we call it in Hindus, we call it clever, when you tie that red thread around your wrist. If Kasab was not taken alive, the the Congress government, which was in power at that time, with connivance of other people, would have possibly termed it as a Hindu terror attack. Kasab was taken alive, and then he saying during interrogation, and the truth came out for whole the world to see. As far as United States is concerned, you see, for them, people outside US do not matter much. The US sees only its strategic interest. They need Pakistan because they have to have access to Afghanistan for number of regions. So the US cannot annoy Pakistan beyond a threshold. Secondly, Pakistan today has become kind of a vassal state to China. The CPEC is coming up, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is coming through Aksai Chin, which is actually the part of Kashmir. It is coming through that, and they US will not take strict measures. If you recall recently, uh, the Biden sanctioned almost $600 million to upgrade F-16s. So this game will not finish. This game will not finish. The only thing is the India possibly have to evolve its own strategy without dependence on world powers or without dependence on anybody else to deal with terrorists. Understand one thing. You see, these terrorists must be told in the language which they understand. If you are too soft with them.
His connection got lost, and very poor connection. I really apologize for this connection on his part, but it's a very important discussion. So as long as you are hearing the words, that is good enough. Are you back now?
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Uh,
Okay, let me ask you one question.
you
Okay,
see,
let me ask you one
yeah,
question, because I've always seen that India, a country of 1.4 billion people, is dependent on a country of 300 million people. And now there are many things like in the current state today, CPEC is already dead. CPEC is not functional now. And the project is probably never see the light of the day also, probably. The second thing is the in the Mahabharata, very I've written books on multiple books on that Mahabharata topics. And the Narad Muni tells very clearly that you have to the intelligence agencies are the first soldiers of for the country, and they have to create operations. And very interesting thing is written in Mahabharata: the wars must always be fought on enemy lands, not in your land. So it's
true,
India is
true.
working on a self-imposed restriction on getting ourselves bleeding, like you said, Pakistan is a nuclear power. Doesn't that apply to Pakistan also, that India is a nuclear power? But despite that, they encourage in proxy wars. You know the reason why? Because they're assured that the Indians will never react, will never act. They're assured. So
Very true, very true.
when the Indian politicians
Yes,
say, हमने किसी पर आक्रमण नहीं किया, they're actually saying to the whole world that you can attack us, but we won't attack you. So it's a mindset
that is
problem in
exactly,
it's a mindset problem in India.
exactly, that is exactly what is happening. That is what is happening. If you see Kargil, the last war we fought was Kargil war, and Vajpayee ji made a statement that we will not cross the line of
It's
control.
crazy. It's like a
This
stupid
self-imposed.
words.
Absolutely, absolutely. You see, our politicians say it with pride that we never went across. Why? We must. You see, the US is fighting all over the world.
I mean, nobody no
Russia is fighting outside Russia.
see, in international law always allows you to defend yourself proactively. So if you see that there is a problem, you have to act. You cannot stay weak. Like I give one example. India always waits for China to attack or transgress the property, Indian territory, and then we react. So it doesn't work. This is not like following dharma. This is not following Mahabharata. This is not following Ramayana. Ramayana example is
I,
Bhagwan
I,
Ram crossed 800 miles of ocean to attack Lanka. The war was fought in Lanka,
I
not in
totally,
India.
I, I totally agree with you. You see, this has been a drawback with us that we do not go across. Whereas uh, in every situation, even against Pakistan, we only have been reacting to the situation which is created by the enemy. We have never been proactive. There definitely is a requirement to be proactive and take war away from your borders and inside the enemy territory. That is that is what must happen, and that is what the government must think about. It surprises me. I mean, we were not thinking on those lines. Had we been thinking on those lines, possibly we would not have landed up in the situation in which we are today. Things have improved a little in last about 8 years, but before that, things are pretty bad. Now, you see, to some degree, we are going across, but again, we are only reacting to the situation which was created by Pakistan. We reacted to the situation which was created by China. Even what happened a few days ago in India, in Tawang region, we again we gave them a thrashing, but then again we only reacted to this situation which was created by China. So I totally agree with you that the war, any kind of war, whether it is information war or it is actual war, it must be fought in the enemy territory, not in your own territory. I am in total agreement with you.
So on this
And
topic,
and
especially on,
I remember
yeah,
I remember a thing which says ahimsa parmo dharam dharam hinsa tadev cha. You have to protect the dharma. You have to meet violence with the violence. You can never meet with them. That is how this and we will
I again apologize for the bad connection, and let
I'm
me
sorry.
see if
Yeah,
we
it
can
is
join back.
somehow. It is.
Yeah, it's a very bad connection somehow. But anyway,
Yes.
the one question comes in that so most of the Indian politicians have not read Dharma. They don't know. Now, if you look at only this aspect about security, then looks like America is following more Dharma than India because they are waging as per the Mahabharat principles, like fighting a war on enemy territory and using intelligence agencies to change governments. Mahabharat Narad Muni says that for Sanatan Dharma, you have to wage wars in enemy territory to establish Sanatan Dharma because Sanatan Dharma brings peace. So he says it. Like all the Malecha Desh, Yavana Desh, Arjun conquered the entire Asia, North Asia, East Asia. The Pandavas conquered everything.
Correct.
And the first use of military to set up the temples in all these countries. But because the temples are the major centers of Sanatan Dharma. And they did it, and everyone was happy. They accepted Yudhishthir's rule. They used to pay taxes to Hastinapur. In Mahabharat mentions that China used to pay taxes to Hastinapur. Clearly mentioned there. And
True.
places like Madhya Pradesh, which is Syria, Levant, those places used to pay taxes to Hastinapur for security because they knew otherwise Hastinapur armies are going to come again. Happened in Mahabharat, happened in Ramayana. But today's Indian politicians, when they say, हमने किसी पर आक्रमण नहीं किया, either they're totally foolish, they have no understanding of their own culture, or they're living in a colonized mindset. What do you think?
You see, it has a lot to do with Indian Constitution. Now, the biggest blunder which we created post independence was to make a constitution which was not suitable for Indian society. We plagiarized this document, governance document, for 6 countries. We made it a more of a, you can say, utopian constitution, because most of uh, these articles written in the constitution are not suitable, were not suitable for Indian society, are not suitable even today. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. The giving right to vote to everybody was not correct. My opinion is we should had laid down certain qualifications for the voters before we empowered them to select the public representative in state assemblies and the union parliament. Likewise, we created fundamental rights enforceable by law. Very good concept, but along with it, we never created fundamental duties which could be enforced by law. So rather than becoming a true democracy, it became kind of a mobocracy and democracy of numbers. It is because of that, even today, after 70 years, that constitution came into force in India, starting from January 1950. We are still nowhere. I mean, we call it democracy, but it has become a game of numbers. Any government which rules does not get more than 30%, it means 70% people were not in favor of that government. We should have evolved our own systems like the United States did. Like, for example, you have judges of Supreme Court in US, they never retire. It suited their society. We never created any governance document based on the need of our society. This is what went fundamentally wrong with us, and that is because of that government, whichever happened to be in power, fell prey to vote bank politics and this appeasement of various vote banks, which is not doing any good either to the governance or to the security of the country, or it is not serving the people of India in any meaningful manner. There is
See,
a need.
mm,
There is a need that we should do major amendments to our constitution to make it in sync with our need of the society and the way which should be governed to make it meaningful and effective.
see, like if you look at the Indian political system, that is Lokatantra. Lokatantra is built on dharma, and also it is a very old concept. It is not democracy. It is Lokatantra means a qualified person is selected by the great Rishi and Munis, and then he seeks public approval that yes, he can rule or not. And then that person becomes the king. And the most important thing is education, training. And generally the people who are chosen have a military background, because a king is always supposed to act on a larger interest of protecting the land, you know, and ensuring security. So that he has to be from a warrior background. But nowadays we see, and if you look at the American policymakers also now, see, the democracy is an idea of Socrates, or Greeks. Greeks is a idea of the
Greeks,
democracy,
basically Greeks.
you know,
Mm.
Athenian democracy. Now, if you look at the Aristotelian, Aristotle rejected Athenian democracy, and he actually talked about constitutional republic, which is America is. America is a constitutional republic, because not pure democracy, because pure democracy means anarchy. In India, see, America, USA sells democracy, but they follow a constitutional republic, because democracy means anarchy. And English word democracy means anarchy. The Greek democracy means anarchy. And so they don't sell constitutional republic to the world. But India adopted a constitutional republic model, where India is a republic in the constitution, which is a Aristotelian thought. It's not a Indian thought. And Aristotle, we are following Aristotle in the constitution now. And B.R. Ambedkar copied the American constitution and the British constitution. By the way, British don't have a constitution. British
They
is the
don't have,
only
they
country.
have common law.
They have common law. They don't have a constitution. So they are not bound by
They
any
don't have a
laws.
constitution.
That's the whole idea of a sovereign, that you don't have follow laws. You make laws for others to
You
follow.
make laws. You are the law, actually.
So
You
India
see,
has
this
this.
is one of the reasons. One of the reasons I must tell you. Sorry for intervening. This is how China came up. You know, how do you think China became number 2 economic power in the world? Because it is ruled by one party. It is ruled by the people. If you take any leader of the Communist Party in Politburo or even at the county level, they are very highly educated, and the people who came up from grassroots, like Xi Jinping, before he became general secretary, he started his work from the villages and from the county and came up in the system. Here, you see, some of our leaders, most of our leaders are paradropped, except you forget about Modi, who came from grassroots level, and that is why the governance is better now than what it was before he became prime minister. Now, you take, for instance, you take Rahul Gandhi. What is his qualification to lead the country? You take regional parties. You take Tamil Nadu, where because the person is a chief minister because his father was a chief minister. You take uh, any other country. You take Bihar. No one is Lalu family is educated. The son, who is a deputy chief minister, is not even 10th pass. When he made his wife the chief minister, she was actually cooking chapati in a kitchen. When she was told, you change your sari, you have to come and take oath as a chief minister of the state. This is what is happening in India. You see the China. Why I gave you example of China was, you take their leaders. They are not only qualified, they came up from grassroots and are very well educated, and they decide. They have long-term vision. We have 5-year vision. 5 years because I have to contest elections again after 5 years. Therefore, I must appease my vote bank. Now, I'll give another example of the farmers' laws, which were, my family has been into agriculture for generations. These 3 farm laws, which Modi government had enacted, were very good for farmers, basically for the farmers which do not have large land holdings. But it did not work because the big landlords and the people who used to control these mandis, they created chaos, and the Modi had to take back those laws because the elections were coming back again. So all these things do not happen. I mean, this is not true democracy, and it does no good to the society. China came up in the system because why they became number 2 power in the world? Because there's a one party which is ruling. There are people who are highly educated. There may be, excesses in implementing policies, but they are very well thought of policies, and the policies have done a lot of good to the China, and they came up. We were together, almost together in 40s. I mean, we became independent in 47, and Mao came into power in 49. And you see in 70 years where China is and where India is. Even today, we have to import almost 80% of our defense requirement. You see, high technology, like we have universities, the public universities, which do not figure anywhere in the 500 universities, top universities in the world. See the Chinese universities.
See that?
I gave just one example of China. US is too far.
No,
But
actually,
no, we need to relook. We have a judiciary which is independent. But tell me one country where judges are appointed by judges. if you see, there are 400 odd families in the India, where all these judges come from. Which democracy are we talking of?
No, Indian judicial system is a British system, and the British created the independent judiciary so that they can control India. So it's something. So the Indian judiciary has more power than the Indian Parliament today, and only by namesake they're
It
appointed.
does. It does.
So
Yes.
the rulers of India are the British right now. They are the coconuts, like the brown face, and inside they are all British. So and they're doing the British common law, which is like, how can you have a British law in Indian context? It's not possible. So like Indians are living still colonized. Now, my last question to you in this discussion, very interesting discussion. Viewers must watch, even though the internet connection is not good. One last question. We keep on complaining, and India is growing. India will be the third largest economy in 10 years in the world. Like,
Yes.
number one will be
It will be.
China, number two is USA, and number three is India.
Yes.
It's going to be like that. But
It's going to be like that. Yeah.
if we continue to behave like this, like what India is doing right now, not taking military actions against terrorism globally, not always complaining about other countries, and looking up to a country of the population of Uttar Pradesh for guidance, I mean,
Hmm.
it's a banana republic definition right there.
No, it is not taking directions from 300 million, but you talked in between, you talked about the journals being the rulers. You see, okay, let me tell you about the intelligence agencies. If you see the top intelligence agencies in the world, the CIA is on the top, the ISI comes second, and then is the Mossad. Let us talk about three agencies. And all over the world, including Russia, the intelligence agencies are generally headed by the military journals. It is only in India that your intelligence agencies like our RAW, Research and Analysis Wing, is headed by a police officer. CIA is invariably headed by a military general, four-star general. ISI is always headed by a general. Mossad is generally, not always, but largely headed by a military general. Here, somehow, they feel shy of appointing a general as head of RAW. That is another lacuna that government should think of. But I wonder, because what is happening in our neighboring countries, in Pakistan, in Myanmar, in Bangladesh, they are little. I think they are little apprehensive of journals. They are always scared of military coup, and they don't appoint. But to have a very effective and proactive intelligence agency, it should be, in my opinion, it should be headed by a military general. Because you see, police officer will never have that kind of a vision or proactive attitude that a general will have.
See, I'm very
Can you hear me?
surprised. Yes, I'm very surprised. The country which is on a bankruptcy, living on a dole-outs, and whose only intelligence accomplishment is terrorism and destruction of their own people, and you are calling it a number two agency. I'm just,
It
it's
is
does.
not. It is a world ranking. It is a world ranking.
I
I'm
mean,
not
who gave
talking.
the
It is a
rank?
world ranking.
My question is, who gave the ranking?
Whosoever gave, I mean, no. They are think
No,
tanks who assess.
there is a politics of ranking also. You know, see if you look,
There is, but still,
I mean, no, but we
I
cannot
have,
accept.
you
The
know,
thing is, I live in USA.
I have, uh,
No American
you,
no American will ever say in the thoughts that Russian intelligence is better than American or number two also. They won't say it. But in India, we regularly quote, oh, this is the ranking, but who gave the ranking? So the point is, who gave the ranking? So the point is,
no, that,
we cannot be so accepting to everything without analyzing the facts. You know,
listen,
eh,
I am from intelligence world. So I understand the ranking and their efficacy and their competence and the powers they enjoy. You know, they are it is very competent. Matlab, when I say we are nowhere in comparison, we may have. It is not only gathering information. It also involves acting on that information.
But
You know,
who
so we
stops
have
Indian intelligence agencies from acting?
government.
You know
For
this.
whatever reason, I don't know. I'm not privy to what is the cabinet meetings, eh, uh, but I'll tell you, we had such, like I had suggested at a couple of times, like we had information about individual A or individual B, and it was possible to take him on, but the permission was not granted.
Let me read you one
So you get
statistic.
the thing.
One statistic I'll
Hmm.
read you. The entire country of Pakistan, entire country, with all the regions, everything, all states, is poorer than is the economy is 75% of the economy of Mumbai.
Hmm.
Just to give it, and I'll put in
All their
perspective.
You see, all their top leaders, all their top military generals have their children settled abroad. They have bought property abroad, right? So Pakistan, they only spend some time in old days. They all retire to foreign countries if they are not in power. You see, any general, their corps commanders are known as crore commanders. They are involved in drug dealings. They are involved in every kind of machinations in politics. So Pakistan is a failed state in every meaning of the word, whether they realize or they don't realize. Just by having nukes does not be the public.
So,
But
so
you see, the thing is, even today, you see the kind of statement which come out from their political leaders, which come out from their military journals. I mean, a modern state, a responsible state, will never make those kind of statements. I mean, that
I
is
mean,
not in a good
I'm
taste. And they are not bothered. They are not bothered. They are
I'm
not bothered. Pakistan is going
no
down the
no but
drain. They are not bothered.
no but why are Indians bothered? Let them go down the drain. Who cares about them? Like I'm just saying, the point is, if they
Neighboring
go down.
state, it affects us. If they go down the drain, Afghan is hosting number of terror groups within the Afghanistan. They will all come down to Pakistan, right? And if they come down to Pakistan, they come down to India.
But
So
what
it affects us. You
no
see,
but my question is, like, again, closed minds. Why What stops India from occupying Pakistan, the entire Pakistan? What stops them?
we lack. We lack ruthlessness. You must have heard you must have read in Mahabharat, since you have written books on Mahabharat, that Sam Dam Dand Bhed. So that part is somehow missing in our context.
No,
You see, a ruler must be ruthless. He must be ruthless. We somehow lack that ruthlessness in our minds.
yeah,
All our rulers,
because most of the Indian political leaders are communist. Most of them, they're trained from the
most of them,
leftist.
yeah.
Most of them,
True,
and even if
true.
they are in the power and they may put tilak and call Jai Shri Ram, but they're communist at heart, because they have not read Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita
No, they
one.
haven't read. They haven't read anything. Forget about Bhagavad Gita. They
No,
haven't read anything.
if you read Mahabharat, and the Bhim, the way he fights, is called Bibhats Yugd. Put the fear in the enemies of the heart,
You must.
and they are not doing it. So the fault doesn't lie anywhere else. The fault lies within the political establishment, and it flows down to the military and the intelligence agencies. Like
You know, it reminds me a couplet from Ramayana. When Lord Rama was going to Sri Lanka, he prayed to Samudra Devta to give him passage, and after 3 days there was no response. So the Lakshman taunted. He says, "What happened? It has been 3 days. Eh? So what are you doing about it?" So there is a couplet. It says, "Vinay ne manat jaldi dar." गए 3 दिन बीत, बोले राम सकोप तब, भयभीन होय न प्रीत. The fear is must, and the love comes out of fear, and and peace and power comes out of the barrel of a gun, as the Mao had said. you know it is good to be it is good to be good, but the other person must know that don't test the goodness of a person. This is what
Why
is wrong with us.
why we quote Mao, why we quote Western intelligence is nothing. Mahabharata has everything in it. In Mahabharata, very clearly, Arjun says, Draupadi says, Kunti says, Satyavati says, these are women talking. And forget about the men, that without danda, there is no peace. So,
There is
so
no
I
peace.
mean, if you want to keep
And
peace in India, if you want to keep peace in India, or just like the USA is following more dharma in this category. They make sure that everything in the world changes so that they are peaceful.
they never, you see, one good thing about US is they never forgave their enemies.
True.
After Pearl Harbor, they nuked Japan, right? After 9/11, it took them 10 years, but they hounded out, they searched out, and they killed Osama bin Laden, and now he's number two also. So you should never forgive your enemies.
And India keeps sending dossiers or
Hmm.
dosas.
We
I
keep
call.
sending. I agree.
Yeah,
I
we
I
send
agree with
them.
you.
We send dosa along with chutney, dossiers with chutney. They
But
eat it.
you have been out of India for quite some time. But let me tell you, in Mahabharata, at the end, when the war is over, Lord Krishna comes back to Hastinapur, and Gandhari knew he is a reincarnation of Lord Vishnu. So she asked him, he said, Krishna, why did this war happen? You were capable of stopping this war. So he said, yes, I could have stopped this war, but I did not stop it because once in a while the cleansing of society is essential to maintain dharma. After Mahabharata, that was 5,000 years ago, there has not been cleansing of our society. I think it's about time that there should be that cleansing where dharma is destroyed and the dharma prevails.
Gita says, "Yuddhe cha palayanam."
Hmm.
Shaurya tejo jitir daksham yuddhe cha palayanam. Danam ishvara bhavascha chhatra karma svabhajam. Lacking all these seven qualities. Some of them have, but these people are not in the path.
we do, we do. I agree with you.
All right.
You
Thank
have
you
a
so
point.
much. And viewers, do get his book, The Game Behind Saffron Swords and
Saffron terror, the game
Saffron
behind
Terror.
saffron terror.
Game Behind Saffron Terror. And in fact, I've confused with another book. And do let us know your feedback about this video. The video quality was very bad, but you can hear most of the video. And maybe next time when Colonel Saab comes, we'll have a better internet connection. So,
And it was wonderful to interact with you. You are a very wise man.
thank you. Thank you.
I was told this, and now it is established. Eh, Thank you.
Thank,
I mean,
thank you.
you are doing a very good service to the country and to the dharma.
Yeah, my country is America. I want America to be safe and happy, and I'm proud of being an American. But at the same time, my heart is in Bharat because the whole world is Bharat. So, but
Yes.
Americans don't listen to me, and neither Indian politicians listen to me. So both don't listen to me. It's okay.
They will listen. You see, the only thing is you have to be a little louder. They will listen.
The thing is, there is an American saying, the duck which quacks the loudest gets the cracker. And I know the philosophy, but you need to give chances to quack. I've been quacking a lot of times, but not enough. So thank you for that advice. Namaste.
No, you will. You will.
Namaste.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you to give me this honor of appearing on your channel. I'm very happy, and I'm a little wiser than what I was about half an hour ago. Huh? You are a
Thank you.
wise man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank
Jai
you.
Hind.
Very kind.
Jai Hind.
Thank you.